SDP, the Steve Dangle Podcast, with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go!
Oh, look at that. We have a trade before the show, except that the trade's not going through yet because no one can reach Patric Hornqvist to see if he approves it. Now, I don't know if that means that he has to, he's got a no-move clause or a no-trade clause in this deal that he signed that was too much money to stay with the Penguins. But I do know that if this trade does not finish breaking before the end of the show, it technically happened after the show, which is the tradition, right? That's usually how it goes. We can't have actual news before the show.
We're going to spend like half an hour talking about the trade, and then as soon as we're done recording, we're going to find out it never happened.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's these little weird details that can throw an entire trade off. And I'm just looking up he has got a no trade clause.
Dude, 12 seconds ago, Elliot Friedman tweeted, it appears as if the Hornqvist-Matheson deal is being held up due to an insurance issue, the ability to fully insure contracts against injury.
Oh, really?
That sounds a little Clarkson-Horton-esque.
Is Hornqvist that injured? Is he?
Not as far as I know.
Just the insurance, just the policy.
Yeah, not like he's got hard miles on him. He misses a lot of time typically, but I don't think he's ready to pack it up. Hurt. Here's what should concern Pittsburgh Penguins fans. Just ignoring the fact that every decision of Jim Rutherford's is mystifying recently, is all of their decisions are financial. All of them. Yeah. And they're telling Jim Rutherford, okay, you need to cut XYZ while making the team better. It's the problem that so many people are facing right now. Okay, you have fewer resources and you must do a better job. And I don't think the best GM in the league would do a very good job of that, much less Jim Rutherford. No offense, guys in the Hockey Hall of Fame. We talked about that years ago. Maybe this guy shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, wins back-to-back cups, immediately goes right back to whatever the hell he's been doing for the past two years. Right. And onward. This deal is mystifying, man. I don't get it.
So what the insurance issue could be, and Steve sort of referenced it, is the reason that the Leafs were able to offload David Clarkson's contract is that Nathan Horton signed I believe a 6-year deal worth about $5.5 million per season with Columbus after, I think, a pretty incredible playoff with the Boston Bruins. He then promptly, unfortunately, injures his back to the point where he can't play again. The issue was that the Columbus Blue Jackets didn't take an insurance policy out on that contract. And that can happen. It's an option. You don't have to do that. If you don't do that, though, it means that your team is on the hook for all of the money. And a smaller market team will struggle to pay for a player like that who's not playing. So in the Columbus case, the Leafs could afford to pay Nathan Horton out of their own pocket, where Columbus could take David Clarkson's deal. And at least for David Clarkson, they had a guy who was playing, except he got injured pretty quickly too and didn't play much. But that was sort of that was the idea. The idea was at least they could have the legs in the lineup. And so it'll be interesting to see if it's Hornqvist or if it's Matheson. It seems like it'd be Hornqvist because that's the bigger contract.
I would assume.
Also, I know that Mike Matheson is probably not most Penguin fans' desired choice to come back in this deal. But it sounds like they may not have had much of a choice. And Matheson, I guess, was good-ish for a year, serviceable for a year, hasn't been that great since, and is probably looking to rebound. And I saw a lot of really funny comments online about wanting to see a Jack Johnson, Mike Matheson defense combo. And I think you said it, Steve. I don't think this deal was made because the Penguins are trying to get better. I think they're trying to shed salary so that when free agency does start, they can go shopping and still stay $5 or $10 million under the cap, like they're apparently going to need to.
Well, here's what I don't understand financially about this deal is they save money immediately, but you got to look at the structure of the deals, just how we were looking at the structure of all the Leafs deals and the Blues deals last show. So Hornqvist, 5.3, 5.3, 5.3. All base salary, very straightforward. So he's still owed $15.9 million American. Boom. Mike Matheson, and I've lost it for some reason. Here it is. I don't understand how this got signed. I really, really don't. So this upcoming season is his base salary is $3.5 million. It's
Mike
also
Matheson?
Yes. Oh, wait. So his cap at 3.5, his base salary is 3.5. It's also the final year on his deal without a modified no trade clause.
Oof.
Then it goes up to 5 next year in terms of base salary. 4 the following, 4.5 the following, and
It's a long contract.
it started at 8 years. It's stupid. And 3 of those years feature two of those years feature $2.5 million bonuses, and another year features $2 million bonuses. So the Penguins, assuming they're in, financial trouble doesn't just poof clear up as soon as fans return to the stands. They're going to have to trade this deal again. Meanwhile, it's going to be very difficult to trade moving forward, considering this guy has a modified no trade clause.
Well, maybe those are the kinds of deals that we're going to see in the interim is money saving deals on this next season that, if you think logically, assuming nothing crazy happens, which is a grand assumption to make at this point, there is a good chance that butts are back in seats, money's flowing in somewhat near where it used to in the next couple of seasons. So that affordability of that contract, just from a financial perspective, becomes a lot easier. However, doesn't mean that it's a great deal. It just means that they're saving a couple million in the interim. And maybe that gives them the money to go after guys like they've been linked to, which is Chris Tanev. I know that it's a pretty well-known fact that Pittsburgh would really like to add Chris Tanev.
Well, yes.
And like to the point where even I've seen some stuff about Chris Letang potentially leaving, and I thought that seems to be a lot.
Well, Jesus, what year is it? 2015?
Yeah,
that guy's always been rumored to be out the door, and Justin Schultz has been rumored to be out the door since before he was a Stanley Cup champion with them. Jesse, are you able to pull up stuff during the show, or you got to do this in post?
I'll do it in post.
Oh, okay. Because we got Don Lucian was very generous to Mike Matheson, because a lot of people are just like, yo, this trade sucks. So Patric Hornqvist just has good numbers, is an effective player when he's in the lineup. Mike Matheson has been awful, and whenever he's not in the lineup, it's often because he's a healthy scratch with a $3.5 million cap hit. It's wild. Now, what he pointed out in his second slide, though, is a lot of micro stats are actually very complimentary of Mike Matheson. And it was a nice moment of clarity where he's like, there's a disconnect between one model and another, and we need to figure something out. What I thought was really interesting and went super under the radar is Reese Jessup. That's _offside on Twitter. And if you're like, that name sounds familiar. Yeah, he used to work for the Panthers. So he's the guy, we talked about him a few episodes ago, I believe, who said that Quinn Hughes is what happens when you teach Mitch Marner gap control. And he was a big guy on, we gotta look at players differently. We pigeonhole them into being a defenseman or a forward or whatever. And he's posting all these clips of Mike Matheson. I'm looking at this guy wheel. I'm looking at this guy bowl guys over. I'm looking at him snipe. And he just tweets, the man is a forward, folks. And this guy was employed by an NHL team. Imagine if the Pittsburgh Penguins actually did that.
They don't seem like the type of team to do that, though. They're too conservative that way.
Right.
God, don't you just want to see it?
Oh, I do.
I want someone 100%. To do it.
Steve, can you explain what these numbers mean that Dom Lucian tweeted out? Because he has a 95 shots per 60. What does that even mean?
Sorry. So that is, I believe, and I will be corrected by Corey. I'm just going to say Corey S. I will be corrected by him if I'm wrong, but I believe he's in the 95th percentile of players, taking shots per 60. I believe.
Meaning a lot, like on volume?
Yeah, he takes a lot. He takes a lot of shots per 60 minutes. He's just looking at the numbers. He's not very helpful at shot assists, which is basically creating situations in which, he feeds a guy and they're able to get a shot. But he's really good at entries. He's really good at exits. He's basically good at everything. by the looks of it, or he's at least in the top half of the league, which is confusing why his like possession stats kind of suck. Right? So it's very, very interesting. Very interesting player, confusing player, and one that's tied to an 8-year contract that appears to only go up.
Man, those contracts, you're like, that was signed, and I completely forgot about that. It was like the Clayton Keller deal. You just sort of forget it happened, and then you go back and go, oh, right, that did happen. Usually it happens on, I don't know, days where there's other information or other news on other teams, or I don't know what it is, but I forgot that he had an 8-year contract. And again, I would ask why? Why 8 years?
So here's the quote. The quote from when it was signed in October 2017 from Cats on the Prowl. Talon on Matheson contract. We started at 2 years and went to 4 and went to 6. And he said, what about 8? I want to be a Panther. It is literally less than 3 years later. The guy's not a Panther if this trade goes through.
Right, which is to be expected, kind of. I mean, if you're an NHL player that lasts 10 years, chances are you're going to get traded 3-4 times. So,
like,
fair?
I'm not – sorry, say it again?
So fair. If you're an NHL player, you're going to get traded 3-4 times, probably. There's some, like contract length does not mean that you're going to stay.
Right.
Right.
It just means that someone, whoever it is obligated to pay you, and now it's the Penguins. I don't understand it. I don't know. There is a situation where the Penguins could make off like bandits here, but I think it is a lot less. It's not good. It's not good.
Did I mention Black Girl Hockey Club right off the top of the show?
You did not.
I did not. Okay, well, I meant to, and I apologize in advance. I actually meant to. So here's the thing. I want to quickly mention this. They have launched in the last 24 hours the Get Uncomfortable campaign. Check out @Black Girl Hockey. And basically, they're starting a movement, as you know, and it's blackgirlhockeyclub.org. Get Uncomfortable, a campaign to disrupt racism on and off the ice and make hockey welcoming for everyone. And you can take the pledge. And here's what it has to say. The Get Uncomfortable campaign is developing a comprehensive set of recommendations on how all entities involved in hockey at all levels can meaningfully contribute to the movement against discrimination and oppression of the BIPOC communities in society. We welcome collaboration with any interested stakeholder and strongly invite allies to join us, as we cannot continue to bear this burden of disrupting racism alone. However, this campaign is committed to centering Black women, women of color, BIPOC communities, and all others who are impacted by prejudice and injustice both inside and outside of hockey. Undoubtedly, these conversations are difficult as they can challenge one's perspectives and approach to our roles in hockey and society at large, but progress is rarely easy and often requires being open-minded and vulnerable and making a genuine commitment to improve one's impact on others. So the goal is to get everybody together so they can truly enjoy the sport. It's the greatest sport in the world, and they may need you. So they're asking you to sign up. If you can take the pledge, again, it is blackgirlhockeyclub.org/getuncomfortable. Thought that was warranted a shout out. We've all taken our pledge. And the point is, whether you're needed or not, pledging your support matters. It really does. So I encourage you to check that out.
It takes
It's 2 seconds.
so little effort. Yeah.
it's literally nothing.
And then if you can add more effort, that'd be wonderful.
That would be good as well.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about great moments in Selly history, you guys. Ooh. Now, it is midweek. And midweek, Stephen, we need to go back into the archives. You remember the Jedi archives from the prequels? And they go in and they're like, hey, I'm looking for this planet. And the guy's like, if it's not in the archives, it doesn't exist. Except Camino did exist. It was just deleted by one of the Sith. Well, it was deleted by the head Sith guy.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, well, You're missing out. All the Star Wars fans know what I'm talking about. We're going into the archives, the non-deleted ones. Steven, what are your favorite celebrations of all time?
How old are we again?
32.
32. We're old enough to remember the Leafs winning playoff series.
You guys
yes.
are 30.
Yeah. Steve.
Yeah, Jesse's 34. Sorry.
Jesse, would you have remembered? Do you remember the Leafs winning a playoff series, Jesse?
Yes, I remember them beating Ottawa.
Me too.
See, what year was it? It was a whole bunch of them. Is what it was.
Just a couple of times, yeah.
So I remember them beating a team wearing black and gold, or black and yellow, if you will.
Flyers?
It was a good time. It was a very good time. The who?
Oh, that's yellow and black. Sorry.
You silly goose! I'm
Orange
talking about
black.
the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Oh, I was there for one of those games.
Yes, you were. Now, who scored the series-winning goal? He wears number 10, and I wear it in his honor. That's a lie. Yes, Gary Volk, who I believe was a former Penguin. Do you remember what the goal looked like?
I don't.
Me neither. Actually, that's not true. I do remember what it looked like. I don't remember what his celly looked like, but I do remember an iconic celly in the euphoria following the moment.
It was game
a
6.
Young Russian defenseman named Danny Markov giving Jaromir Jagr himself the Yag salute as the Penguins go off the ice. Losers to the Toronto Maple Leafs, noted playoff series winners. It was a great time in my life, and I miss it very much.
I want to say that was the second round.
I believe it was.
Right, so they were going to the conference finals.
Leafs made it to the conference final twice in 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
God, I miss it.
Sportsnet has the goal on their YouTube channel. The celly is very good.
It's very good.
Yeah.
It's
So
very.
can you describe the
imagine
goal?
if someone.
Frosted Flakes.
Hey, it was actually that was pretty good right there.
Yeah, it was.
It was like a bang-in goal, and I believe on Tom Barrasso of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And what's so great about Danny Markov doing Jagr's like celebration back at him? Imagine if like you scored an OT winner against the Rangers and you did the Panarin kick over your head. My foot didn't even come into the screen, but you know what it looks like.
Yes. Yeah. Tom Barrasso, I believe, earlier that season had broken Yannick Perreault's arm because he went cross crease with his stick and swung it on the other post. Perreault was coming around for a wraparound. The stick hit him across the arm and broke it.
Well, good going, Tom. Now he's got a plate in there, and he's only better at face-offs because of it. You fool. Right. So, Danny Markov via Gary Volk. That is my son.
It's great.
One of the best things about the video is Barrasso in net. He looks like he's a defenseman today. Like his shoulder pads are just regular old pads. He's not all big, just kind of hanging out in net.
Hockey resets every 15 years or so.
Yeah.
You can't look at 2020 and compare it to 2005. You can't look at 2005 and compare it to 1990. You definitely can't look at 1990 and compare it to 1975. You can't look at 75 and compare it to 60. Hockey just completely resets every 15 years. It's unrecognizable every decade and a half.
When it's game time, don't flake on the Frosted.
That's good advice. It's just great advice, Tone. That's absolutely right. Is the ink dry in your contract yet? We need you. We need you. It's incentive.
Great.
No, you're even better.
By the way, he was a right shot, and I'm wondering if Tony plays defense. I don't know in that clip. You can't really tell. But he would be a great step-in instead of Alex Pietrangelo. I mean, a 500-pound cat.
Well, yeah, you know what position he plays?
500-pound cat.
You know what position he plays?
What does he play?
Whatever the hell he wants. Get out of the way.
Yeah, pretty much. So, obviously, in bringing that up, Alex Pietrangelo has been all over the news. All over the news. And he has been offered officially, in case you didn't know, an 8-year deal with the St. Louis Blues for $8 million per. From what we understand, the stalemate comes down mostly to bonus money. So he's willing to stay, and he's willing to stay at that rate. But apparently most of it is, paid throughout the season rather than up front, which is what a lot of players want. And financial advisors would tell you, if you got a contract like that, get as much as you can up front, because the more years that you have to accrue value with it, the more money-making years you'll have, right? It's just basic math. If you get it at 31 rather than 35, you got that extra 4 years to make money on it. And that will help you huge when you stop making money at that rate later on. And it's also
better.
Yeah,
what's better, having money or waiting for it?
Bingo, right? It's like, it's like the lottery system in the States. It's like, we could give you $300 million over the next 25 years, or we can give you 200 now. And it's like, well, I'll take the 200 now.
Yeah, what's cash for life again?
$1,000 a week for 25 years.
Or you can get a lump sum.
Yeah. Oh, you can.
Yeah.
So it works out, I think it's $2.5 million. I think is what it works out to be.
But the lump sum is not 2.5, or at least that's the rumor I've heard. I don't know anyone who's won Cash for Life.
I'd like to win Cash for Life.
I think I've won like $20. I won $20.
All right.
I won 50 on a scratch ticket a few months ago.
I think
10
is the most I've ever won on any one of those.
That was a depressing moment during quarantine. It was like my first trip to the store. I'm wearing a mask. Everyone looks like, it was a little less relaxed than it is now. And I bought $50 worth of scratch tickets. And my wife and I just sat there for like an hour.
That's cool. Hey,
no,
at least you got your money back.
We made, you know what? Now that you mention it, I spent 50. We won 150 and I cashed it and that was it.
There you go.
According to a Reddit page from 5 years ago, the Cash for Life payout is $675,000 or a lump sum of $1,000 per week for life. The
lump sum is the $670,000.
Yeah, sorry. So
it's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
But $1,000 a week for life.
Yeah. Well, it's for 25 years. 52 times 25 is what? Some genius listening to this podcast already knows.
Someone's already screaming it through their windshield and concentrate on traffic.
Oh, it's only 1.3 million is what you get for Cash for Life.
Dude, that's double.
So it's $1.3 million
over 25 years.
Over 25 years or $675,000 right now.
But I want you to keep something in mind. What is $1,000 going to be worth in 25 years? So if you have $1,000 20 years ago, it's worth more than $1,000 now, which is the point of taking the lump sum. Is the idea is you can take that $1,000 a week, but look at how it might, like rent in Toronto. When I first rented a 1-bedroom apartment in Toronto, it cost me $1,100, and I thought that was an absolute fortune.
And I was poor.
It was very expensive, and it was right downtown at College and Yonge, and it was a dingy, shitty little place. Now, the average 1-bedroom rental is up over $2,000, and that is in the last 7 years. So just keep that in mind. If you are ever in that position, it may be to your benefit to take that money now, give it to somebody who's good at managing money, or put it into your Wealthsimple app, as people like to do, or invest in some real estate. Let it accrue value and enjoy the rest of your life. That's all I'm going to say.
All I'm thinking is, I'm like, yeah, you could put 20% down on a home. You could get a new back deck. Actually, wait, I have money. I'm going to get a back patio.
Whoa.
I'm going to have someone cook my barbecue for me instead of, no. Okay. That's not actually that much money, but it's a lot.
But to your point, if the money you're getting over 25 years is double, do you think the rate of inflation will double in 25 years?
I don't think it could.
Right.
The rate of inflation is like 1% a year.
Right.
So up 25% conceivably year over year on a, what do they call that? Those curves that, you know what I mean?
See how confidently I threw out at least.
If you could wait it out, then you end up with more money.
What are the chances, though, that you're going to save $4,000 a month and make that worth it?
You're not going to save
You're gonna live at the rate of
gradually.
I now make $4 extra a month. That's what you're going to do.
Rather than spend your money on like really meaningful, worthwhile stuff, you're just going to spend it on stupid crap.
Yeah, you're going to upgrade your house. You're going to get a more expensive car, and you're going to go, I'm pouring it.
You're going to buy grass stained.
Like, that's what happens.
You could buy almost one pair of grass stained jeans per month.
That's right, the Gucci jeans. Were you listening to the show this morning?
No. I saw it on Roger's product yesterday.
Wow.
Get with the times, Bell.
Damn.
Get with the times.
Unlike ice surfing, we actually allow our product to be viewed later on. So
What?
No,
that is a key feature of ice surfing.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you go on Twitter and you
I'm bugging you because you're stupid. How about that?
There is a Virgin Mornings video podcast, much like this one.
Oh yeah, you guys.
Less Steve, more me and Jesse.
Yeah, you're all video now, right? The whole show's video.
The whole show.
So if you guys can stomach that, go get a load of that shit.
So anyway, I don't know how we got to this, but the point is, get the money up front. Okay, that's the point. And
how did this start?
It's Petrangelo's deal. Unlike with the lottery system where you get less money up front, in the NHL you get more money up front and less later, and you still make If it's $64 million, you still make $64 million. Like Cash for Life is like, hey, you're going to make half. Whereas the NHL, it's like, no, you're still going to make that money. So there really is no benefit to not taking it early. And if you're a guy like Petrangelo, who's been one of the best defensemen in the NHL for the last 10 years, yeah, I mean, you can demand that. So that seems to be the stalemate. And obviously, too, there has to be a little bit of what happened with Justin Falk, I think, weighing into this. Right? They get him, they sign him to this extension for $6.65 million or whatever it was. And Petrangelo's like, I'm going to make less than $1.5 million more than Justin Falk. I've been here forever. I'm the captain. You won the Stanley Cup with me, and you can't give me some bonus money? Really? I think there's a respect thing happening here, and I think that's why you're seeing Alex Pietrangelo, who is notoriously a pro St. Louis pro team guy who literally says nothing that would make the team look bad. That's why you're starting to see him say, I'm going to have to look at free agency, and maybe it's best for both sides. And I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on those comments, because to me, obviously it's a negotiation play, number one. But number two, this is a guy that's not comfortable in that position, who doesn't want to make comments like that. You know, we could sit here and talk about how Mitch Marner's negotiation went. He didn't make any comments. Mitch Marner said nothing. Imagine Mitch Marner had, right?
Yeah, imagine.
What a tailspin we all would have gone into. It's so, you know, for them to come directly from Alex Pietrangelo's mouth means something. This man is a captain. He brought the city its first cup. What do you make of it?
Jesse, you got anything? Because I got something.
Go ahead, Steve.
I'm glad you brought up Mitch Marner because it actually does remind me of that. And I'm imagining a guy like Mitch who just seems like the team puppy. And I'm imagining a guy like Alex Pietrangelo, who off the ice, I don't know if I've ever even seen him frown. And he's just always been this calm, low-maintenance leader and everything. And we talk about respect. And Mitch Marner was disrespected, which we didn't understand at the time. And actually then we got a little bit of context, and it's like he might have been a little disrespected. But Petrangelo, it appears to be a money thing. And it's like the Blues either have it or don't. Like, I don't really think it's a matter of respect. What we wondered aloud for many months with Mitch Marner is what I'm going to wonder aloud with Alex Pietrangelo right now. Is it him going, I'm being disrespected by this team that I brought a cup? I brought them a cup. I did that. Does that sound like Alex Pietrangelo? Or does that sound like his agent maybe going, you know, Alex, you know, the Blues can't give you bonus money? Did you not just win a Stanley Cup last year? Their first ever Stanley Cup. They couldn't do it without you. They've never done it without you. Like, you don't think it's an inner circle thing? Whoever it is, doesn't have to be an agent. To me, I just don't believe Petrangelo would say that.
He's a $9 million. No, he did say it.
No, he was a $9 million defenseman. Then COVID happened and tough shit.
Well,
what? That's the reality for every free agent right now.
Yeah, until you're
Anthony
the top
Duclair was ready to friggin' like he had a career year. Sucks to be you. Taylor Hall is supposed to be the big. We were talking about Taylor Hall making more than Connor McDavid a few months ago. Remember that?
1% in his sport, probably going to be immune to that.
Maybe. You might be right. Like
probably going to be immune to that.
Hall up front and Petrangelo on the back end.
I wouldn't pay Hall. Let me just be straight on that. I don't think Taylor Hall has done anything in the last 2 years that leads me to believe that guy is worth an 8-year contract or a 7-year deal.
Is Taylor Hall the best forward available?
He might be.
That's the problem.
Right.
Remember, there was a really was it 2012? Was it 2012? Brad Richards was a free agent.
Yeah.
And he was the best free agent available.
Right.
I got 8.5 or something. It was 8 or 8.5,
which was a fortune at the time.
It was way too much. It was way too much, but he was the best guy available.
So
second best guy available was Tim Connolly.
It's either Taylor Hall or Mike Hoffman. Like those are your top two forward UFAs.
You know, based on name brand,
Mike Hoffman, I would pay.
Why is Taylor Hall better than Mike Hoffman other than name?
Well, and also reputation.
This year, Hoffman had 59 points in 69 games. Taylor Hall had 52 points in 65 games.
So this is the problem with Taylor Hall's career, guys.
Seasons, right?
This is the problem with Taylor Hall's career, okay? Guy goes from first year in Jersey, 53 points. Next year, 93. The next year, injuries. Okay. So we'll give him this 37 in 33. So he had a good year. And then back to 50 points this year in 60-something games. In Edmonton, 65, 38, 80, 50. You don't know. Listen, we know he's capable. That's clear. What we don't know is what he's capable of on a consistent basis. And we're talking about a guy who, Steve, you pointed it out, was going to be the guy that was going to potentially make Connor McDavid money because that's how much scoring is worth. But nothing that we saw in Arizona this year leads me to believe that he's worth that. If Taylor Hall gets over $8 million and in a 7-year deal or an 8-year deal, depending upon whether the Coyotes go after him or not, which I don't think they are, given their financial struggles, I mean, because and again, by the way, that's a complete about turn from what I thought. I thought the Coyotes were going to try to keep him, but they can't make their bonus payments. So or they didn't make them on time. So I'm just saying that sort of changed my opinion on things. But if Taylor Hall gets $8 million a season with your team, are you comfortable?
Okay.
Is that what 50 to 60 points is worth now? Because it certainly was worth the 90. Like if he hits at 90 points, great. But he's done that once.
Taylor Hall, the $8 million is does-it money, not can-do money. Can-do money is 5 to maybe 7.5.
Like William Nylander money.
William Nylander
Can do it.
can do it.
Doesn't always.
It's not every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's not every season, to cover my tracks before everyone kills me. And this is the problem. This is the problem. If Mitch Marner was making William Nylander money, absolutely nobody would have a problem with him.
No.
But he makes does-it money. And I came to his defense. I'm like, Jesus, did you see those 5 games against Columbus? He tried so hard every game. No one cares. No one cares about how close you came.
That's what the money is for.
That's what the money is for. He makes does-it money. Matthews makes does-it money.
But he doesn't.
Tavares makes does-it money.
He didn't do it.
He didn't do it. And I defended him. I'm like, oh, he hit the post. Oh, he tried hard. Does it money. Are you going to give Taylor Hall does it money or can do money?
Can do. You'll have to give him does it money, but I'd only be comfortable with can do.
I mean, you're not going to the past 2
somebody
seasons.
is going to pay Taylor Hall a big chunk of money over the next 7 or 6 years, and that's it. Like it happens every free agency. The top guy is going to get a bunch of years. It's going to be like 5 years and $8 million, and Taylor Hall's going to get that because he's a free agent, and that's how free agency works.
I'm certainly more comfortable at 5 years than I am at 8 or 7 or 8 with him.
Mm-hmm.
I am.
It'll be around 5, I think, 5 or 6.
It's interesting because we've been sold on. I wonder if players are going to do a 1 or 2 year deal thing because the money's dried up. Right? So you sign a 1 or 2 year thing, you play your hardest, then when the money's back, you try to cash in. But I also wonder if players are going to be gun shy because like you look at like who is it? Charlie McAvoy, Brock Besser, Braden Point, Patrick Laine, like all these guys who took the shorter deal going, you know what, but I'm going to get mine. Now yours isn't there. So what is the incentive to take the short deal? I don't know. You gotta be dead sure that the money's going to be there, and I'm not convinced it will be.
Yeah,
I think we've said this before. It's like we think the guys are okay. You're going to bet on yourself and try and take the 1 or 2 year deal, but in the end, the NHL players just always lean on the long-term deals and the security.
Sure, because of injury.
Because of injury, yeah.
Look at the promo the NHL had yesterday. You got to sacrifice and you got to break bones to win the Stanley Cup. Also, you should take a short deal. I don't friggin' think so. If I got to block shots and break bones and sacrifice myself, you got to sign the longest, most lucrative deal possible. You cannot take the lump sum in this case.
Right.
You got to do the $1,000 a week for life.
You're taking the $1,000 a week. Even like with the environment we're in now, where it's like, okay, I might not get as many years, but I might not get as much money, but the years and the security seems to always be one of the largest motivating factors for an NHL player. It doesn't work the same in other leagues. Like in the NBA, the guys are taking 1 year and 2 year deals all the time with opt-outs. And then in football, you can get cut all the time. But in the NHL, consistently, it seems we're going for these 5 and these 7, these 6 year deals.
Well, in the NBA, I mean, the money's just better. But
yeah, it's $30 million for 1 year.
Yeah, play 6 minutes off the bench. Like Andreas Janssen, right? He took the 1-year bet on yourself contract, and he followed it up in 73 games. So he missed some time due to injury. He missed 9 games. Or I think he was actually a healthy scratch, wasn't he? He had 20 goals, 23 assists, 43 points. And so he gets the contract that he does. What if instead of that year, he had the one that he currently had or just had? 8 goals, 13 assists, 21 points in 43 games.
He's Pierre Engvall money.
Yeah, like you don't. Andreas Janssen worked hard and lucked out. It's a combination. So I don't know. All these guys, the 1 or 2 year bet, it would benefit a team like the Leafs. It would benefit a team like the Avs, which I keep suggesting. It would benefit like any, if a group of players wants to go to a contender and just light it up. It would benefit those teams, but not financially.
Interesting. Well, when it comes to Petrangelo, I wondered, and there's been some suggestions that, obviously Pierre LeBrun even said on TSN yesterday that if Petrangelo hits free agency on the 9th, the Leafs are going to make that call. The Flames are going to make that call. Vegas is going to make that call. Calgary can afford him outright. They have the money under the cap. Vegas and Toronto have massive cap issues, but you can go 10% over the cap until the offseason is over, and that could be all the way till March. If you are Kyle Dubas or Kelly McCrimmon, though, are you doing that afterwards? Meaning, okay, so you sign Alex Pietrangelo and you're 10% over the cap. Now you got to shed salary. Who's going to help you?
Now you're desperate, right?
So you're desperate.
This is what I'm interested in to see if Jim Rutherford is not able to pull this deal off today, like if it gets canceled or whatever. Now, how hard is it going to be to move Patric Hornqvist? Because now, hey, so you tried to move your boy and you weren't able to do it. Seems like a bit of a difficult thing to do. Hey, we'll take him, but it's going to cost you X, Y, and Z, right? So I keep going, the Leafs could get this for Frederik Andersen. They could get this for Andreas Janssen. They could get this for Alex Kerfoot. I wonder if what's driving the price down is the just naked obviousness of why the Leafs would make those deals, because they have to. So, yeah, they've paid a chunk of the contract, and there's value in that. They're good players. There's obviously value in that. They're cost-controlled. There's value in that. But, I mean, let's not pretend this is one-way street. I'm doing something for you, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, I was reading Jonas Siegel and James Myrtle, and, well, they could trade Nylander. They could trade Kerfoot and Janssen, and I'm just like, is Petro the guy? He would solve a lot of issues.
But he would create some too.
Yeah.
And okay, so if Petro costs you 9 or 9.5, because if he loses the 8th year, he's going to want to go to the 9. He's going to want to come in around 60 to 64 million, right? Because that's the deal St. Louis has laid out on the table, which he seems to be fine with. If the bonus money structure was different, deal would be signed already. So if that was the case, and that's what he's coming in at, you're not getting Alex Pietrangelo, the player, yes. However, Travis Hamonic, TJ Brodie, Chris Tanev, and multiple others are up this season. You could probably call the Coyotes about Chalmerson and Oliver Ekman-Larsson if you're that interested.
And anybody on the roster.
Anybody on the roster. And, I mean, you probably could get them to retain at this point because there's probably a little bit of desperation coming out of Arizona right now, frankly, based on their situation. And it's a shame what's happened because a lot of that has to do with the climate of the world right now. The reality is, I don't know. Like, do I want Petrangelo to be a Leaf and then for them to figure it out later? Yes. But would I be a little bit more comfortable with like a Hamonic Brodie signings that are about the same amount of money? So imagine you get them both at 4.5. That's one Alex Pietrangelo. And you've got Riley, Hamonic, Muzzin, TJ Brodie. And Justin Hall is on your right side, and then the bottom left is probably Rasmus Sandin, and you're hoping that he can step into Morgan Riley's role a little bit, at least once Morgan Riley is up in a couple of years.
It's all philosophies, right? Like another thing from the Myrtle Siegel article is, you got to ride your stars, and your stars got to produce.
Which is,
if they don't, you're screwed. And I'm like, as opposed to what?
Right.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
That's been the last 3 years.
But if we talk about what Dallas has done, where they've gotten goals from. Who are these guys? Who are these guys?
Who the hell are these guys? I think you need depth to win 4 rounds, but the Leafs need to get through 1.
Yeah, the Leafs have had neither. They haven't had the star scoring or the depth scoring in the last 2 playoffs. So
the question becomes then: is it worth it to pin your hopes on one guy like you have up front on a few guys? If Petrangelo goes down early, guys, they're screwed.
Yeah.
Dallas is also a great example of taking care of both ends of the ice, because they were talking about, Tyler Seguin, snake bitten. And I'm like, how many times through his career has he gone through these scoring droughts? And he's still making $9 million, and also the Dallas Stars still win.
Yes.
Clearly something is going right with the way he's managing the ice.
He plays well.
Yes.
Good player.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he's not scoring.
I don't think for the Leafs right now, one guy fixes the entire decor.
I don't think so either. You got to have
betting on that doesn't seem like the right decision.
So I'm trying to look at it from their philosophy, though. If you look at, and sorry, Steve, give me 1 sec. If Justin Hall plays the way Justin Hall played the first part of last season, if you can bet on that, which I don't know if you can, then all of a sudden that picture becomes a little rosier. $2 million, plays well with Muzzin. They were the best defense pair that they had last year because the Leafs were bound and determined that Cody Ceci was going to be anchored to Morgan Riley instead of trying anyone else, literally anyone else. And to me, if that is the case, if Petrangelo and Hall are both humming along, the Leafs look pretty good.
It's unacceptable that, okay, who are the Leafs' concrete defense pairings last year? Muzzin Hall.
Ceci Riley.
Nope.
What do you mean they weren't concrete?
It was for a while. It was for a while, and also it sucked. But it was concrete, man. They didn't move it.
But it was concrete until injuries as well.
Yeah,
they switched off of it
if one guy goes down, and then you have $9 million in Petro, and you have no room again to add anybody to your roster.
You're screwed anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think you're screwed anyway. But they had Riley Berry, and then Riley went down with injury, so they had to split that up, and then when the season resumed, they went right back to Riley Ceci. But who's the best defenseman on the damn Leafs? Morgan Riley. Their number one mission this offseason, it doesn't have to be Petro, but their number one mission this offseason has to be to find Morgan damn Riley a defense partner.
And play him with that person.
Yes!
The other thing, okay, so the other effect of Petrangelo, like we're looking at cap implications, and sometimes I think, especially in Toronto, because we've had so many cap issues in the past, our focus tends to only be that. But if I look at, the only successful Toronto franchise recently, well, there's been 2, TFC and the Leafs, the Raptors. With the Raptors, Kawhi Leonard coming in, playing the way he did, you could see the development and the advancement of the players around him as the season went on. And yes, the Raptors didn't make it out of the second round this year, but the reality was that they, as you do in the NBA, they had a star not show up. Pascal Siakam did not show up. He was not Pascal Siakam, so they didn't win. And it's just like any other league. If your stars don't show up, if Tom Brady doesn't show up, Tampa Bay doesn't win. That's just the reality. What I saw in that, though, was there is a pedigree type of player like Kawhi Leonard who are so good and set such an example that everybody around them watches and learns. And I wonder if with guys like, is Timothy Liljegren that far out? I don't know. Is Rasmus Sandin that far out? I don't know. Could they benefit from being around a guy like Alex Pietrangelo and potentially give you value once they've learned from him and absorbed information from him that they can't from coaches? Just watching him play? Maybe there's some reality, like some value there. And maybe that's what gives you the opportunity where in a couple of years, I think they've burned the first year of Rasmus Sandin's contract, but in a couple of years, maybe they're signing bridge deals, but at least then it makes them more affordable in the meantime and gives you the depth you're looking for. And then they've got this defenseman out of Finland as well, do they not?
Oh, Mikko Lehtinen.
Yeah. So who's lighting it up right now, doing really well.
That was, remember last training camp, which was a year ago now, When Ilya Mikheyev might play with Austin Matthews, and I'm like, can we slow down? Who is this? We've never seen this player. What do you mean? Who is this? And what's driving me nuts about people talking about next year's roster is people like slotting Barabanov on the third line and Mikko Lehtinen in the top 4. And I'm like, you have not seen them play. Why are you doing this? You don't know who these people are.
And Korshkov's
I give you a lineup of people.
Yeah, Korshkov.
Right?
Korshkov's on the first line.
Like,
I mean, he could come in and be a contributor.
Well, he's gonna have to quarantine. The KHL is ridiculous right now. The KHL, we just don't care. But it's very KHL. Anyway, this all comes back to, so yeah, Jesse was saying, if he goes down, you're screwed. Well, yeah, but yeah, they need a top guy.
We're seeing Tampa Bay almost win the Stanley Cup without Steven Stamkos.
But they had Steven Stamkos to learn from. They had Victor Hedman to learn from. Sergachev is better.
No, I'm just speaking to the injury part.
Oh, fair.
Like I'm just saying you should. Injuries are going to happen in the NHL, and if Alex Pietrangelo goes down and he's on the Leafs, it shouldn't screw up their entire franchise. And I feel like it would, because they have no backup plan because they spent so much money on his roster slot.
The Leafs had some success, though, like Tampa, with Matthews out of the lineup, with Tavares out of the lineup, with Marner.
The forward group is a different group, though.
Right. No, so I'm looking at Tampa, though, because they're crazy front loaded. And they're everything loaded, right?
Yeah, really.
They're to me, they're just a different beast. They're the best team in the NHL.
That's how you want. That's what I'm trying to say. That's how you want the Leafs defensive group and their forward group to be. If the Leafs forward group, if Tavares goes down, you still have Austin Matthews. If Morgan Rielly goes down, which happened last season, they didn't have anybody to play that position. They had Tyson Barrie, and it didn't really work.
I don't think you can sign your way out of that problem, though. I think you got to draft your way out of that problem, which Tampa's done a really good job of.
Well, and that's why I don't need to build their roster differently.
Yeah, they do. And that's why I think it's odd to say, but like when you look at it from that perspective, it does make a lot more sense to sign a guy like Petrangelo and draft with that first round pick. And maybe this is the year where you draft for a position. I don't know. Maybe this is or you draft the best player available and you stop hoarding the players that you're drafting and start moving some of them.
Yes.
Stop hoarding Andreas Janssen before his value's tanked, right?
How often do you see a team draft the best player available and then have a hole somewhere else and then trade that guy? It's so rare. That's
what the Leafs were supposed to do, except they were like, no, we're keeping it all.
No one
finally dealt Kapanen.
I can barely hold it against them because nobody bloody does it. You know what I mean? So if you're a team that has shitty defense and you're picking 15th and a guy who you had ranked 6th comes up and he's a forward, or you have a guy who you rank 12th and he's a D, take the defenseman. You don't have any, for God's sake.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because you're not going to trade that guy. Because you want him so bad that you're willing to take him above someone who plays a position that you need. Oh yeah, and now you're going to let go of that guy who you had to have. You're now going to flip. I doubt it. I don't think so. I just don't think it's going to happen. So yeah, I'm with you. Draft for position.
I also and I'm not normally like that. I'm really not. I'm really draft for value.
Well, don't be stupid. But
the thing is that if you draft the best player available, develop them, but don't be afraid to move them. Mm-hmm. That's my problem. Draft the best player for sure. But the problem with the Leafs that they have not executed on, and only now did they with Kapanen, is you have the player, and they didn't draft Kapanen, but you had the player, you developed the player had value, and you didn't move on fast enough. And now you're stuck with Andreas Janssen and his $3.5 million deal. And believe me, I hope Andreas Janssen comes back strong. I really, really do. But the time to deal him was last season when you needed the cap space and you could only sign one of those two guys. Instead, you signed both, and it didn't benefit you at all.
Here's what left brain versus right brain. Okay, and here's a player who I always wrestle with left brain versus right brain.
Okay.
Travis Dermott. So I forget which brain is which, but Travis Dermott. Young, homegrown, drafted, won a Calder Cup. He's got all these skills, right? He's got all these skills. Great guy off the ice. Just an amazing dude. Other side of my brain goes, who is your number one left defenseman? Morgan Rielly. Who is your number two left defenseman? Jake Muzzin. Who has the higher ceiling? Rasmus Sandin or Travis Dermott?
Rasmus Sandin.
Rasmus Sandin. Can Travis Dermott play right? Yes. Are they ever going to play him there? No. All right, we're done. Trade him. Like, that's they got some of those decisions to make, and I think they need to be cold.
I think it's fairly clear that Travis Dermott's not going to be a Leaf next year.
Is it?
To me,
like,
it is.
I don't know.
And then the Freddie Anderson talk as well is like
loves his guys. Loves his guys, and that's one of his guys.
Yeah, Dermott also needs a deal. Like, he's an RFA right now, so they can move him out for. Do you get back assets for an RFA at this point? Probably.
Yeah.
I think so.
For a guy like him, you do for sure. I think you trade him to a team that, like, okay, you're going to say I'm absolutely crazy here, and value-wise, I probably am. But you trade an RFA like that to a team like Arizona who can say, listen, we've got a place for you in the top four. You pull some value back, like with, again, I keep bringing up his name because I'm a huge fan, and I know he's on the decline, but Chalmerson, man, if you could even have him on the third pairing. Now we're talking.
Adam, if they trade Travis Dermott
not
for a left-handed defenseman,
not straight up.
No. But even if it's a package deal, if they trade Travis Dermott for a left-handed defenseman who plays on the right, I will strangle everyone in that building.
I'd be happy. They'd have to play him on the right because he's Nicholas Chalmerson. He's won cups though.
So Kyle.
The value for an RFA straight up has to be Joel Edmondson, right? Which was a 5th round pick.
Oof.
Yeah, so that's kind of what you're
looking
at.
but Joel Edmondson was going to UFA. They just traded for his rights beforehand. That's why the value
UFA,
so low. Yeah, and an RFA like Travis Dermott has all the tools. Like, it's conceivable that the Leafs trade him and next season he's a top 4 defenseman in the league. It's conceivable.
100%. I totally.
But he's not yet, and he's not going to be on the Leafs, right, Steve?
That's the cold. That is the left versus right. Can versus will.
I think top 4 is a stretch for a guy.
I don't know. He's got the skill to be.
He's never done it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're trading promise. And by the way, trading promise is extremely valuable in the NHL.
NHL GMs love the mystery box.
Yeah, 100%.
They can have the yacht, or they could have the mystery box, which would also be a yacht.
Which could be a yacht.
NHL GMs love that.
Vegas never gave a shit about the handedness thing on the back end.
Well, what the hell have they ever done?
Right? Well, they've never won a cup.
That's true.
We'll say that. But who's been Morgan Rielly's best defense partner, honestly?
Ron Hainsey.
Hainsey.
First of all, that's insane. Second of all, you have a Ron Hainsey hockey card?
No.
Look at the way he shoots. Just get quality on the damn team. Do you see how quickly, as a Leaf fan with my damaged brain, I came down from get Alex Pietrangelo to just get some good players? I don't care which way they shoot, just make sure they're good. God, this hurts.
I'd really like to see.
2 weeks to be over.
I'd love to see TJ Brody and Morgan Rielly line up. I think that would just be scary. It'd be terrifying on defense, but
no, you can't have that. No, well, then, I'm sick of being scared.
Then Hamonic and Rielly, and then you have on the second pairing, you have to have TJ Brody with Jake Muzzin.
So we're just taking everybody from Calgary?
Well, because they're going to be up. I think Calgary's going to go for Petrangelo. So that's when you sweep in and go, yoink, we'll take those things.
It really worked out with Dion Phaneuf. So.
Well, but it did work out with Dougie. Okay. So,
wow.
One of those trades worked.
All right, here's the Leafs defense.
Listen, the Dion Phaneuf trade, by the way, would have worked for if they had literally anybody else who was NHL caliber. Look at the roster that Dion Phaneuf and Phil Kessel were on. And then the extension they signed him to was onerous. Like, it's unfair to pin that on Dion Phaneuf when Keith Ollie was his best defense partner. Who's Keith Ollie?
You're forgetting about Mike Koska.
Oh, man, Mike Koska. That was great. They signed this guy, and he's a guy, and they signed him. And that was and he played once or twice and scored one big goal, didn't he?
Can I say that is Mike Koska? You just reminded me of one of the weirdest celebrity pairs I've ever seen in my entire life. So one day after I was working at CBC for something, and we went out for drinks after when that was a thing you could do.
Mm.
And sitting at the bar, and I'm not making this up, were Mike Koska and the Old Spice guy. What's his name again?
Hello, that guy?
Yeah.
Really?
The horse guy?
On a horse.
Really?
It was literally Mike Koska sitting there having like cocktails with
Isaiah Mustafa.
Isaiah Mustafa.
Right. Was he not a football player too?
Yes, he was.
He was in the NFL for like a hot minute or something like that.
He was a wide receiver, yeah.
I swear to God.
And I think he's a vegan and stuff. Like they went into his diet. I think I read an article of him in Huffington Post or something years ago, back when the world was fun. So that was cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, listen.
Sorry.
Dion Phaneuf would have been a serviceable defenseman. Should he have been made captain right away? No. But he would have been a serviceable defenseman for the Toronto Maple Leafs in that era if the Toronto Maple Leafs had decided to put an NHL team on the ice. They decided not to, and it didn't work out. Weird, right? So when it comes down to this, here's what I would say.
Can I give 1 point on? Can I give 2 points here?
Please.
One, Dion Phaneuf's contract that he signed with the Leafs wouldn't have expired yet if it wasn't bought out by the LA Kings. Yes. It was due to expire at the end of this upcoming season.
Ooh.
It was 7 years in 2013.
Maybe my worst take of all time. I didn't hate it at the time.
You should have.
Might be my worst take of all time.
Should have really hated it.
I should have hated it.
The Old Spice guy dated Lana from the WWE, which is
really
yes.
Good for him.
Good for him.
Good for her too.
Good for her.
He's a catch.
Yeah, but now she's with Rusev, so much better. Bigger legs.
The fact that Steve knows that.
I'm so happy you're on top of that.
Yeah, really.
Buddy.
Me too.
Always. Oh, come on. I got a whole wrestling corner.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
Got Ed, Xavier Woods, Eric Young.
Oh, our boy.
Shout out our boy.
I love Eric. He's so great. Ugh. One of the best guys.
We have
also, he's kind of a jerk in the ring, though.
Also, the freaking champion right now. We haven't even congratulated him. Yeah.
TNA.
Really? TNA, yeah. He's world champ.
Eric Young.
Eric Young.
So, anyway.
If I ever write an animated movie, he has to voice something.
He's got...
He just has to. With that...
Have you seen the TikTok where it's like the TikTok where it's like, it's spicy. Like I thought, Eric. I'm like, that's got to be Eric.
That's him.
Why is that so spicy?
He's climbing the top rope. There he is. Oh, and Eric Young with the why is it spicy? He's definitely got to change it.
Do you think we could get Eric to say that? Because that would be
why is it spicy?
We'll play it during the Frosted Flakes segment.
Yeah,
it'll be another one of our drops.
Yo, now that we can do drops, we got to start bringing some drops in.
Yeah, we can do it.
We can do drops.
Load it up. Anything you guys want.
That's great.
Great. Please, God, I would love that. I would love that very much.
Can I be honest with you about something? There's a couple things about the setup right now that we're doing that I would like to change. Like if you look at Jesse, he's actually put some effort into his background. He looks fantastic. Steve's got this room. I'm on my shitty brown rented couch. There it is. It's rented and it's a couch. And there's my Steelers blanket. Like that's what I sit on, and I'm sitting on my pillows. I'm gonna work the setup, and I actually have exposed brick behind me. So eventually, you're gonna see an exposed brick background because obviously. But the one thing I love about this is our technology that we have here. And again, I'm gonna replace my microphone and make it better. And as you know, as we continue here, the technology and the ability that we have over Zoom versus what we had in the studio is like kind of insane. Like versus the radio studio that we were using, we can do a lot more here, like a lot more here.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't you glad we spend all that money on camera equipment?
No, I wish we had the combination of the two. There's a lot more I know now that I've been doing this over Zoom and things I've learned to that I can send you guys audio and all that stuff. And I wish I can combine the two because the production would be top notch.
Right. So the goal here long term is to build a studio. And I've got space in my place. This is part of the reason I rented the place that I rented, is I've got a little space downstairs, which will be perfect for that. But COVID's got to be over first. And so, yeah, am I glad we spent a lot of money on the camera equipment? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I'm glad we did that. Absolutely. And if you look at the way our Virgin Radio videos are shot, that's what we're going to go to probably a little bit more once we get back to shooting in studio together.
It's good to have long-term goals. Long-term goals.
Steve, what are your thoughts on Adam building a home studio?
There's space for lease near where I live.
Even if we could get two of us in studio, you know what I mean? It would still be something. So,
It'd be better.
It'd be better.
For sure.
It'd be better. So long term, it would be great to get all of us back in the studio. Who knows how long it's going to take? But in the meantime, it's kind of nice that we actually have the ability to do things that we just didn't have to do. I do want to buy those, like every podcast has the same microphone. It's like a cardioid microphone. I want to get one of those because everybody asked me, by the way, I've been getting a lot of these questions during the pandemic, and I figured we should just mention this. I keep calling these blue elephant microphones. They're Blue Yeti. So
where do you get that?
Huh? I don't know. My brain doesn't work properly. So anyway, those are the microphones we're using right now. You obviously can upgrade them, but if you're just starting, don't spend $600. Spend $150. It plugs into your computer and you're done. You're ready to go. So that's what I would suggest for everybody asking. And everybody who says, and we always say this, Steve, if anybody asks us, hey, do you have any tips on starting a podcast? What is the tip?
I always say just have fun.
Right.
Make sure you enjoy it. Content is king.
And to that point, just start the podcast. Most people talk about starting a podcast, going to start a podcast, going to do a podcast. I got to set up a web page for the podcast and a Twitter account for the podcast. We still don't have an official Twitter account for our podcast. We still don't.
And I don't know. Do you feel like we need one?
No. It took us 4 years to get a YouTube channel. It was Jesse going, I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
So,
thank you for that, Jesse.
Yeah, we should have been on that earlier. But the point is, just go and do it. And then once you
continue it.
Yes, most podcasts do not make it past episode 10. But once you continue doing it, and you feel like you're in a groove, and you're a year in, then take a little look at, back off and take a little look at, okay, where can we improve? Is it tech? Is it content? What is it? And then put your money into those areas. But you have to do it first. So if you are starting a podcast, those are our hints. I keep getting messages about that. I keep meaning to bring this up. Any
Expose
other
brick. Smoke weed with your guests.
Yes.
$100 million contract. Make shit up. Apologize. Profit. That's how it works. That's the model, kids. No.
By the way, his new studio is weird. I don't really listen to the show that much.
I haven't seen it.
He got rid of his exposed brick, and it's like a spaceship. It's this big red spaceship in there. So
I'd buy $100 million. I'd buy a spaceship with $100 million.
Yeah, why not, right?
And I'd still I'd thumbtack my hockey figures to the wall.
Jesse, do you have anything to add to the podcast segment, or are we moving on?
No, my little doggy was barking at something at the window, so I muted my mic.
Okay. I want to quickly mention that Cam Janssen made some comments about the Alex Pietrangelo situation, specifically pertaining to Toronto. And he has actually responded to these comments online, and I think this is funny. Now, it's important that you know that Cam Janssen is connected to the St. Louis Blues organization forever. He grew up there and signed there. And they extended his career, frankly, there. Doug Armstrong is probably, if not an acquaintance, maybe a friend. I don't know. I don't know what their relationship is, but I do know that Cam Janssen is an ardent Blues fan, and good for him. He should be.
Sure.
Cam Janssen,
I think he follows me,
has said that the St. Louis, and he's got a podcast, says the St. Louis Blues have offered Alex Pietrangelo the 8-year contract that I mentioned. Says that Petrangelo is not going to budge on the signing. The Blues are not going to budge on the signing bonuses, and obviously Petrangelo is not going to budge either. Now I'm going to quote at Bearson_goal because he actually wrote this out, but you can hear it on the podcast. I heard it on the podcast as well. He said, "You go to Toronto for your career to die. When you're 30 and you sign a big ticket in Toronto, it usually doesn't go very well for you. You think you're going to go up there and make a difference with that team? Go ahead."
And Adam, Leaf fans around the world were blindsided by the comments.
And then apparently went into talking about how expensive it is to live up here, which is a valid concern, except that people forget you're getting paid in American dollars. And when you make $9.5, $10 million, even $8 million, cost of living really doesn't apply to you.
No. Like, you are wealthy.
How big does your house need to be?
Right.
You can get a gigantic house in Rosedale for $2 or $3 million, which is the nicest name. You can go to Forest Hill, which is just up the street. You can get one for $5 million. He's got 4 kids. If he wants to, he can afford it. He'll be okay.
I have seen Carrie Underwood and Mike Fisher's cottage, and I'm fairly certain that's where the Batmobile is kept.
It's that big, huh?
It's one of the biggest, most cartoonishly lavish things I've ever seen.
But she's had a cartoonish career in terms of earnings. Like, she's done extremely well
I think,
in a genre that
that's
still
Carrie
sells
Underwood's
CDs.
cottage.
That's
not Mike Fisher's.
Yeah. You could country music stars still sell CDs at Walmart. Like, they make money off CD sales.
Yeah.
That's why Bon Jovi made a country album, by the way. Did you know that?
I did not, but I'm glad you do.
Because it was the hottest selling type of music. Selling. Not streaming, selling.
You just changed the genre.
T-Pain try and go country once.
Who did?
T-Pain.
Did
he do a little bit of... Yeah.
I love T-Pain.
T-Pain does everything.
He's the best. And he actually sings beautifully.
He's also a really good storyteller.
Yeah, and a fun Twitter follow, and apparently really fun online, too. He does, like, gaming and stuff. So.
In 2013, he did a song with Luke Bryan.
Oh, that's cool. Whatever.
Yeah.
Why not, right?
That's
Florida
fun.
Georgia Line and Nelly had a song.
That's true.
Why not?
I was just about to say. Yeah.
And Kane Brown is sort of up the middle of country and hip-hop right now, because you got that song with Sway Lee. And who else is on that song? Be Like That? Who's else on that song, Jesse?
The Kane Brown, Sway Lee, and one more person.
There is one more, and I keep forgetting it, and we introduced it two or three times a morning.
Pull that clip, Jamie, vibes from that. Who's on that song, Jesse?
Khalid.
Oh, it's Khalid.
Yes.
Yeah. So there you go. So they're all doing that. But the thing is, yes, okay, so you have a car. So you're Mike Fisher, and you're wealthy, or you're rich. Then you marry Carrie Underwood, who is wealthy, right? She is at the top 1% of country star earners. So they're going to have a cartoonishly large cottage. But don't tell me with $8 or $9 million, even if he has 4 children and that's expensive, that you can't have a gigantic place, multiple places. You can have your gigantic home in St. Louis, which you probably already own, and then have another gigantic place in Toronto if you're living here. And so I found those comments funny. Now, Cam Janssen did reply to @BearsAndGoal and said, he said, yeah, that comment was a bit harsh, my bad. And that was pertaining to, you really think you're going to make a difference up there with that team?
I respect that.
I do too.
Yeah,
I really do.
Man.
But when you say things on a podcast when you're talking for hours and hours, you know?
It sounds like he would be an entertaining guest to have. Like, I'd love to have him on just to hear him talk about it.
Yeah. Sounds like he's fun.
Cam, if you're listening.
He follows me. Of course he's fun.
Okay.
What?
Don't make that the bar.
I don't think
that is absolutely the bar.
Well, if we're judging based on your replies, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I'd love to have Cam on to talk about it. And, you know, I would be interested to hear from an NHL player who didn't play here, but has a lot of friends and stuff that would have played here. And why he feels that way. Because I don't want him to censor his opinions on that. If that's the way he feels, I mean, kind of right? Like, who has signed here and it's gone well in the last 20 years?
I mean,
anyone? Like, Tavares scored 47 goals,
the overall success of the team in the last 20 years has been in the toilet.
Which is what he's referring to.
Yeah,
right,
so no one has sat here and been successful.
It's okay. Answer me this.
Johnny's been successul.
But the team hasn't accomplished anything, so I wouldn't say he's successful.
What has not accomplished anything? Like, okay, during
they haven't won a playoff round.
You got to win a playoff.
No, oh yeah, no, oh sorry. To emphasize, since they haven't won a playoff round, I'm totally on board. But just during his playing career, like we talk about, I joked about Vegas earlier. They've been to the Final Four twice in 3 years. Leafs went Final Four twice in 4 years. I'm pretty sure during Cam Janssen's career. They signed guys like Joe Nieuwendyk, Gary Roberts, Alex McGillney. There's a list of guys who it's gone well for. We agree that teams that make the Final Four are good, right?
I'm talking about the modern era.
Yeah, I'm talking about
modern era, then no. Modern era, then no.
Since 2004, this team.
Yeah.
No,
well,
okay,
and at that point, Jesse, to Jesse's point, the Leafs were spending $80 million on that team. $80 million on that team 20 years ago.
Isn't that wild that they're spending about the same amount of money?
As they were 20 years ago. And you guys think the cap is good for players or for teams. Oh, it's amazing for the Leafs. Look how much money they're saving. And we talk about how much they spend. The Leafs are saving so much money.
Just all the money they've saved over the last
hilarious.
God knows how many
people
years.
Are pro cap. I can't even. You can't be. This cap is so annoying and it's so stupid.
A luxury tax would be amazing.
Yes, luxury to hard. Thank you very much. And yes, the teams will be able to survive. There's a way to do it, and I've explained it a million freaking times, and people are still will not look at the evidence. Absolutely is possible.
There already is
Don't
a
tell
luxury
me.
tax. Like retaining salary is a luxury tax.
No, let's just do a real luxury tax.
That's what I'm saying.
Where every dollar you spend into that luxury tax, the teams that are disadvantaged get to.
There's a sham. It's a sham of a luxury tax. What the Leafs did with Vegas and Chicago.
Yeah.
Giving a guy a signing bonus and trading him once that's paid. It's just bullshit. It's just bullshit.
At least legitimize the bullshit. Legalize weed, man. That's all I'm saying. Just legalize it. I'm not going to fight it. Just legalize it. Whenever the process isn't ridiculous.
When they decriminalized it, were you like, I don't understand what that means?
Yes. Yeah.
And now it's legal. And I'm like, I get that.
So we can take it off you and throw it in the garbage.
Yeah.
But that's what decriminalizing means. We will not make you a criminal. We just won't let you have it if we catch you with it.
Decriminalized, I don't know what that means. It's legal. Oh, I can buy it at the store. Like,
bingo.
It's very clear.
That's all I'm saying with that. So I would love to have Cam Janssen on because you know what? As much as those comments are bombastic and out there, I don't know that he's wrong, at least so far. Personal successes aside, what has the team done? And since Cam Janssen started playing hockey in the NHL, the Leafs have won exactly zero playoff series.
Yes,
zero.
He has it been
came into the league and retired, and they still won zero. He's right.
Has it been due to a surplus of pressure or an absence of good players?
Absence of good players.
Right. There's good players who are free agents.
Right. And what I'm saying, Steve, is that part of what he said was correct. You can't say that signing a big ticket in Toronto right now, which is what he's saying.
This is Adam.
That's working out well.
Adam and I are back in high school math class. Part marks. That's what got us through.
I'll give him part marks. The Leafs have signed Tavares. What has happened? Leafs signed Marlowe. What happened?
Part marks. Yep.
And then what happened? Just saying. Part marks. I'll take my part marks.
All right. Well, now you're speaking a language I understand.
There are more rumors from around the NHL. We should mention this too before we get to the rumors around the NHL. Guys,
what?
The Athletic revealed an all-star team, a stacked team, especially up front, one with a maple leaf on the logo. But this team with the maple leaf on the logo still puts Mitch Marner on the fourth line.
Wow.
And that
Does
is
Team Canada know what he's about to put them through?
I know.
Wow.
Team Canada's, this is the Athletics version of Team Canada at the World Cup, because we're assuming that the World Cup is going to happen to bridge the gap between this season and next. And it kind of makes sense. I think
bridge the gap between no hockey and hockey.
Right. So what we're going to get is all of these all-star guys back in a bubble sometime in January, I would think. And you're going to get them playing for a month.
This year?
No, January.
No, yeah, this upcoming January.
Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. You're going to pay them.
Okay.
They're going to put them back in a bubble. They're going to pay them a fortune. They're going to play hockey. And then in March or April, we'll get the NHL back. That's what I think is going to happen.
Wow.
That's what I think. That's just my random guess. You can't bring the NHL back until people can be in the seats.
Can you give us the line combinations?
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Hit me.
I'll save the fourth line to last. At left wing, on the first line, Ryan O'Reilly. Center, Connor McDavid. Right wing, Matt Barzal. Left wing on the second, Brad Marchand, Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon. You got to have Crosby.
That's your first line.
It's the all Halifax second line.
No,
right?
they've already screwed up. That's your first line.
It should be, but McDavid's on the
No, Sidney Crosby, Brad Marchand, and McKinnon are your first fucking line.
Yeah, you're
right. What the hell are you doing?
You're right. But
this is why Canadians get mad when they lose a single game.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me with that shit?
Yeah, the all Cole Harbour line.
Pretty God.
Sweet. I don't think Marchand's from Cole Harbour. Number 3, Huberdeau, Scheifele, Stone.
Oh,
Pretty good.
God.
And then the fourth line, which is actually, I think, potentially one of the most skilled line on the team outside of Sidney Crosby and McDavid, yes, are the single most they are. This is a skilled line. Bo Horvat, Braden Point, Mitch Marner.
That's real good.
That's insane. That's crazy skill.
They shouldn't lose a period.
No.
Oh my.
And Mitch Marner, fourth liner, Mitch Marner. So Mitch Marner's dad is probably really mad right now. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's a joke, for goodness sake.
That was Adam Wilde who said that.
Oh, my goodness.
Of Bell.
The Bell Media.
Who are they associated with?
On defense, Josh Morrissey and Alex Pietrangelo, who's listed as a St. Louis Blue in this, which, come on, he's going to be elite.
I'm canceling my subscription.
Number 2, Morgan Riley and Cale Makar, potentially the most fun defensive pair we've ever seen.
How good is that?
And then number 3, and this one is perplexing a lot of people, Shea Theodore, which we could see. Drew Doughty?
Did Drew Doughty not receive Norris votes?
He always does.
Did.
Drew Doughty has been.
Shouldn't have.
Let's be honest. Drew Doughty is getting Norris votes for what he did in 2016. It's sort of.
Yeah. No, that's. Now I'm trying to think of who's better, and it's difficult to do off the top of your head on account of there's a lot of players. But I don't know if I would go with him. In fact,
let me continue here and give you some of the. Here are the extras. Okay.
Oh,
you got. Sean Couturier, Hot Sam Bacho, Thomas Chabot, and Darcy Kemper are the extra goalie, and then the goalies for the team would be Carter Hart and Carey Price. Carter Hart being the starter.
It's pretty good.
Carter Hart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there was remember when Bloggy Salming and Down Goes Brown were making videos?
Yeah,
and they had.
I missed that.
Yeah,
they do that again.
They had the diss track for Team Canada, and wait, Mike Green's not on this team? No. Holy shit, we're stacked. I'm like, Thomas Chabot's not on this team? Yeah. Holy shit.
Yo, I remember my favorite video I think Salming ever did was the how to pronounce Dustin Byfuglien.
By Fulugilian.
And they're like, no, it's going to be Byfuglien. He's like, well, actually, that's not how it's pronounced. We'll trade you to Edmonton. Okay.
Byfuglien it is.
Byfuglien it is. Man, they need to do that again. They need to get back
who's a big old Canadian and shoots right? Dougie Hamilton.
That's interesting they left him off the list. Dougie Hamilton gets snubbed a lot.
I'm surprised the Athletic left him off.
He gets the Phil Kessel treatment a lot.
Why doesn't anyone like Dougie Hamilton?
I don't get it.
Yeah, the Phil Kessel treatment is right. Yeah, ask all his teammates. You like Phil Kessel? Yeah. And then all you read is this guy is not gelling. He's a pain in the ass. Gets traded.
No one likes him.
Goes to the next team, performs well.
Gets traded.
Now,
Carolina seems to have found a home, but it's weird. I guess because the museums there's just not many museums in Carolina. So it'll probably be one of those things.
So you'd think Carolina would have a lot of museums.
One thing, too,
they might have a lot of aquariums.
About the World Cup happening in January, but the Olympics are supposed to be this upcoming year, are they not?
That's what they keep saying.
Are they not summer? Yeah, because they're Tokyo. Well, I guess it would be. Yeah, it's summer Olympics.
No, it would be 2022.
Yes.
So it would be the next winter, and that's in Beijing.
Yes.
And so would that?
But they haven't agreed to go to those, have they?
Right, it's still up for debate, right?
I thought, they did sign the extension to the deal. Was that this is so long ago? I can't even remember. There was a CBA agreement in March, was there not?
I got it here. So in July 10th, 2020, the National Hockey League Players Association agreed to a renewed collective bargaining agreement, which includes a provision opening the possibility for NHL to explore participation at the 2022 Olympic Games.
Well, do the World Cup and do the Olympics. Can't hurt you. Why not? I think they're going to do a World Cup this year, I think they're going to organize it very quick. In fact, I think they're organizing it right now. Then they're going to use the playoffs as a template. And based on the COVID numbers, I wouldn't be shocked if it's in Toronto and Edmonton again, because why not? And players are going to come in and they're going to play and they're going to have a good time. And then they're going to go back home for a couple more months. And then training camp's going to start in mid-February.
Wow.
That's what I think. That's my prediction. No, it's my prediction. I'm basing it on nothing other than these COVID numbers around the world keep going up. And unless you're in Texas, you're not really allowed in the stadiums. Texas and Florida. I do know that the MLB is going into a bubble for the playoffs, and Texas is opening up the stadium. They're allowed to, I think, be 50% full.
They haven't. Rob Manfred said he wants fans there.
He wants fans.
So they haven't reached an agreement to allau fans.
Open air stadiums are allowed, though.
They want them for Texas.
Yeah.
Is that how a bubble works? I'm under the impression that's just kind of a game.
You know, Steve, it's a good point you raise. I can't say I disagree, but I don't know, man.
How do you think a bubble works?
Yeah, I don't think.
By the way, remember when half the Marlins tested positive for COVID and they just kept playing and no one's mentioned it since?
Yep.
The Phillies too.
Is that that's how we're going to do this, right? It's sort of like,
dude.
Bunch of guys tested positive. Outrage. Let's move on to the next thing.
The NHL has been in a bubble. The NBA has been in a bubble. Basically every other league where they're like, we've had no cases. I'm like, right. I'm just saying.
Well, it's not to your benefit to announce it.
I'm not going to accuse anyone of anything directly, but people lie, right? Do people lie sometimes?
No, Steve.
It's just a general question.
Steve, the 60-man NFL rosters, nobody's tested positive.
Wow.
Except for the first day of training camp.
Oh.
32 teams, 60 players a team, nobody's tested positive.
Good for them.
You can't test positive if you don't get tested.
If you don't test.
Yeah.
By the way, I was listening to read something really interesting about the public health stats in Ontario, and they were saying that the equivalent of like 400 cases today is a lot of cases, which, it keeps rising and rising in Ontario again because it's, there's a second wave coming. But they said that because testing is also 4 times as much, the equivalent of 400 positive tests in March is to now is apparently something close to 2,000. So it's like in March, it was like, oh, those are only the cases we're catching. Whereas now it's a little. They're doing 40 or 50,000.
Because it was 10,000 tests in March when they were like, "This isn't enough tests," and now we're doing 40,000 or 35,000 tests, I believe.
I have family members who are like, "Yeah, in February we all had 3-week coughs, and it was the worst cough we ever had, and couldn't taste my coffee in the morning, and I thought it was the weirdest thing." And then a few weeks later, we were all shut down. And I'm like, "So you all had COVID, is what you're saying?" Yeah, we did. Not asymptomatic COVID like you had straight up. Yeah. And that was February. One of the things, okay, so here's what I live in fear of. One day I'm going to have to justify a bunch of things to my son. He's going to be like, "Why did you do that, you stupid idiot?"
You didn't do it.
Sorry?
You didn't do it. What did you do?
What do you mean?
Well, you're not responsible for the public handling of COVID in the United States.
No, but one of the things I'm going to tell my son, and he's going to be like, "Are you a maniac?" is I had a book signing on March 7th.
Well, you didn't know.
Well, I knew a little bit.
No,
it was
Steve.
4 days ahead
also,
of time.
You can't blame yourself.
No, nobody.
I'm not blaming myself, but in retrospect, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, in retrospect, yeah.
Dude, I went to work with a cold in early March. It was just a cold. It wasn't COVID, but I went to work with a cold. I did. Didn't know, man. We didn't know. We really didn't. I mean, I guess we should have known, but there wasn't any response to it. There was nothing to contextualize that. Would I do it now? Absolutely not. But I was ignorant back then.
We really did treat it like Rudy Gobert was the first person in the history of North America.
Yeah, him and Tom Hanks.
Piece of shit, it's your fault.
It's Tom Hanks and Rudy Gobert.
And Tom Hanks was in Australia, though, so that narrows it down to Rudy Gobert. What have the French ever done for America? Nothing. Sorry. It is, God, it's going to be a fun conversation. Leo and I are going to have lots of fun conversations, father and son.
You know what? I have a feeling that Leo is going to go the exact opposite of you, and he's going to be chill as hell. He's just going to be like, "You know what, Dad?
Oh, God, I hope so.
Just let it go, man."
I hope so.
Because you can't have two, you got to have yin and yang, right? So I wonder in your case, is he just going to be like a super relaxed kid?
God, that'd be great.
Yeah.
God, that'd be great.
Welcome to Chill FR. I'm Leo.
Welcome to just half an hour of, just vibing.
I like that. Jesse, let's get to the press conference.
The press.
All right.
S.
We accomplished. I just want everybody to know we accomplished precisely 30% of what I wanted to do with today's show, but I feel like it was all right. We were on topics and we were going, and that was it. There's other stuff, but who cares?
For the press conference, hey, why did frickin' Leon Draisaitl win the Hart Trophy? That's the press conference.
Which part of Edmonton did that come from?
Everywhere. Why did he win?
I have a better question. Is Edmonton all right?
What do you mean?
Are they ever all right? Are you all right?
Why? What's prompted it?
I sent out a tweet basically making fun of I'm just going to say what I said. And here, I need to pull it up. Because basically, Edmonton Oilers fans will just fill the mentions unprompted without me really mentioning them. Mm-hmm. And they, the next Summer Olympics, we need to just send a bunch of tweets, and our track team will just be Edmonton Oilers fans tripping over themselves to miss the point. Just breakneck speed. No one's like them. Here's the tweet.
Will they beat Andre DeGrasse?
Jesse, he's standing still. I said, it's the 2020 Stanley Cup Final, and folks, we're seeing exactly why they say defense wins championships. But before that, we can announce that the league's MVP is the guy who got the most points. Again. The amount of tweets from Lethbridge and Fort McMurray and Edmonton and Red Deer and holy shit.
What about Olds? Did you get anything from Olds?
Nah, nothing from Olds.
Okay. All right.
Not yet.
Airdrie?
Not that I saw. Maybe they were already muted. I don't know. Maybe they were already muted.
The Foothills.
Yeah, now that you mention it. The amount of responses I got containing the words Austin and Matthews. And from what is the Venn diagram of Leon Draisaitl is better than Austin Matthews responses, and Toronto media needs to stop talking about the Leafs so much. It's a circle! You bunch of weirdos! What did you guys get from that tweet?
Dude, even Don Cherry, who I'm sort of loath to bring up, but even Don Cherry was like, Connor McDavid's the MVP. Are we kidding ourselves?
Nathan MacKinnon was the MVP.
Connor McDavid's the best player in the league.
But it's not the best player in the league award. It's the most valuable player to your team award.
Right. And if Connor McDavid is so good that Leon Draisaitl can beat him by 15 points, do you think Leon Draisaitl's got that many points if Connor McDavid does not play on the Edmonton Oilers? No chance in hell. Connor McDavid is the most valuable player in the league. He should be like Gretzky and win it 8 years in a row, like Gretzky did in the 80s. Period. End of story. Sorry, Nathan MacKinnon. Sorry, anyone else. Connor McDavid, and then everyone else.
We need to stop talking about Sam Reinhart like he's a bust piece of shit. Because if that guy got picked third overall instead of second, he'd be playing with McDavid instead of in Buffalo. And it would be slightly different, I think, his life. I'm not saying Reinhart is better than Draisaitl. I'm just saying what a life-changing turn of events. But the tweets, the point of it was it is ironic that out of one side in the mouth, people will say defense wins championships, and then those same people will, every single year, almost without fail, vote for the league's leading scorer to be MVP. That's the point. It had nothing to do with the Leafs or Austin Matthews or any of the other things you don't like. Are you all right? Are you going to be okay? How is your posture with you being weighed down by that gold medal that you won in mental gymnastics? Are you okay? Every day I just log into the Doom rectangle and I go, are people all right? And the answer is always no. I don't get it. Anyway, yeah, he shouldn't have won it. Oh, the other one! Because I was like, guys, he's not good at defense. Have you ever heard of the Selkie? Checkmates! You're allowed to be shit at defense to be league MVP, said a bunch of well-adjusted adults. Are you okay? Guys! Give it a rest.
Is Draisaitl bad at defense?
He's not the greatest.
I don't think it matters. Guys,
Like, he's not, I wouldn't say he's like top third or top.
In terms of like
quarter.
centers and getting back and playing.
Yeah. Dude, he was the league MVP.
Sorry, I disagree. It's always
And he
it
was
will
left
always be
off
Connor
2
McDavid.
ballots.
If Connor McDavid is breathing, it's Connor McDavid.
That's not how the trophy works, Adam. You're changing the rules of the trophy.
Who's more valuable to their team? Who's more screwed without Colorado is still probably a playoff team.
No.
Edmonton's not. Guys,
Absolutely.
And Edmonton didn't have McDavid had played 64 games. They cleared a playoff spot, and Colorado. What was McKinnon? He was 23 points clear of the second guy on the team.
Yes.
He was 43.
And if you had
93 points,
Landeskog and Rantanen were not injured, he's got a supporting cast there.
but they were injured.
They were though.
Guys,
They were, and they don't make.
I'm
they
sorry.
don't make the
You're going to
playoffs.
make the argument to me that the Oilers are better off without McDavid than McKinnon with the Avalanche. You're actually going to make that argument.
Yeah, because they have
You're going to say
Draisaitl.
that on this show.
Yeah, they have Draisaitl out of.
Guys, he's one guy. He's
No, but
one guy.
The argument that I've seen a lot of Oilers fans make is,
We're arguing about one guy.
Draisaitl without McDavid was really good, and he was.
He was.
For 6 games.
Yeah.
6 games.
McDavid is so good that he played himself out of the MVP. He's that good.
He's the
That's
league's
my
best
argument.
player.
Yeah,
Adam, are
it's
you
not
all
the
right?
league's best
McDavid
player.
was not part of this conversation.
I'm making him a part of it. He should win. He should win it every year.
Wasn't
Just
even
every year.
nominated.
Guys, I know that he wasn't nominated, and it's a crime that he wasn't nominated.
Adam, you've just chiseled
It's
McDavid
also a
into
crime.
2020, 2021.
It's
Like, what
also-
year do you think he's going to retire? You can make all the plaques up till
It's
then.
also an absolute crime that Connor Hellebuck was not nominated for MVP. They gave him the Vezina, thank God. But where are the Winnipeg Jets without Connor McDavid, Connor Hellebuck? Where are the Winnipeg Jets without Connor Hellebuck?
Everyone needs a Connor. I'm dying for the Leafs to get Carrick back. They need him.
At least there was hope when he was playing for it.
They look better. You're right. There's a lack of Connors. I think that's what we learned.
I'm just
from all
saying,
this.
guys. I'm just saying. Now I'm going to get a lot of Avs fans going, you're wrong. And that's cool. It's better than Edmonton fans saying you're wrong because Avs fans tend to be nicer about it. Just saying.
Just don't call for Joe Sakic to be fired. In my experience, it goes poorly.
Well, at the time, he probably was right on the razor's edge. Let's be honest.
They were legendarily bad. I just didn't know they were going to have an unbelievable bounce back.
So let's go to the next question on the podcast, which is not Jesse's question. What do we have, buddy?
Do you want another question? I don't have another question prepared.
Oh, okay.
Pitch the trade for the Leafs to acquire Marc-Andre Fleury. That's by tweets by _Cam.
I hang up the phone.
What was the
You
question?
guys don't want Marc-Andre Fleury on the Leafs?
Not at $7 million. No.
I want to make sure I got this. Say it again.
So Cameron, podcast listener,
Yes.
tweeted us and
Yes.
said, Steve and Adam, pitch the trade for the Leafs to acquire MA Fleury.
Oh, pitch the trade.
Flurry.
Okay, I thought it was.
Okay, so we're starting at Vegas retains half.
Still no.
So that's what do you be $3.5 million goalie? I can live with that. I can live with $3.5 million. I can do that. I can live with that.
Are we going to talk about Marc-Andre Fleury one day the way we talk about Chris Osgood?
What do you mean?
Like, do we all agree that
Okay
Marc-Andre
player,
Fleury's
great teams?
just an amazing career for a guy who spent an alarming percentage of it as not a starter? You know what I mean? I mean, Fleury's played more as a starter than Osgood, I would say. 2009, he won the Stanley Cup with himself as a starter. And then it was platoon, and then it was backup. And then it was Vegas, where didn't win. Didn't win. Vegas's final appearances matters to us now because here we are in 2020, and that was only in 2018. in a few years ago, like, you remember the list of Stanley Cup champions, but as you go further in time, whoever those champions beat in the final erodes in history. You just kind of forget it.
So here's the problem with the question is that in this scenario, you have to have a taker for Freddie Anderson and his full contract for a year, which you can find. But what's the value you get back for that? Not in Vegas, obviously, no. So you'd have to trade him to somewhere else. Let's say it's Calgary because apparently they might be interested. Edmonton because apparently they might be interested. Who knows? Okay, so it's one of those teams. I don't know what the value back is, but I don't know if it's as high as everybody would like it to be. I don't know if you get a first-round pick. Like, I wonder, Kapanen got you a first, but I don't know that – I'm not sure if Freddie does. I'm not sure. I don't know. With regards to – so then you're in a situation where you somehow need to acquire Marc-Andre Fleury. Well, Vegas apparently already almost has a deal done with Robin Lehner, who's the guy I would be personally interested in, him or Markstrom.
For sure.
So if Vegas has this deal done that's unannounced with Robin Lehner, the reason they haven't announced it yet is because they haven't traded Marc-Andre Fleury. So you go in there and Marc-Andre Fleury needs to be traded because Vegas has cap trouble, and you're going to be competitors for Alex Pietrangelo. So you can't.
Also, same Robin Lehner, same agency as Alex Pietrangelo.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
okay. So you can't go to Vegas and say, yeah, we'll just take him, because you're then handing them potentially Alex Pietrangelo, right? So
a Walsh guy?
No. What I would say is you grind them down to 50% salary retained over the next 2 years. You have both of your goalies locked up for $5.5 million for the next 2 years, which isn't bad. And you give up almost nothing. There's very little. Vegas needs to shed. You, as the Leafs, do not need to take on. You can't, in fact. You shouldn't be. You need to shed as well. So if you are taking on a goalie with 2 years, and I don't mind Marc-Andre Fleury at $3.5 million. I think that's pretty good, especially considering what the games that you think Jack Campbell can give you. But I do feel like at a certain point, you have to understand Vegas' situation, which is, and why would you help them? They're going to be your competitor for the number one, probably, defenseman in the league, who's now a free agent. So in that scenario, you can't be giving them much value back. And in fact, I'd be trying to throw as much salary their way as possible to make the deal happen. That's just me. I don't see a deal happening between Vegas and Toronto. They're going to be competitors for Petrangelo. Maybe afterwards, but right now, until that Petrangelo deal is done, whether it's in St. Louis or Calgary or Vegas or somewhere else, Toronto, I can't see a deal happening between the Leafs and Vegas because they're going to be too competitive on Petrangelo.
Yeah, folks, I'm having a hard time coming up with a pitch for something I don't even want.
Well, let's have a look at Marc-Andre Fleury's numbers.
They're suspect.
Are they?
Well, I mean, it's
in a platoon situation where he seems to do very well. I mean, he
in platoon with Jack Campbell.
He's not?
No.
Why not?
Well, because now you're giving. What is the evidence that Jack Campbell can do that?
Well, I think the Leafs are banking on that.
Well, okay. Well, there's your first problem. So now I'm looking up Jack Campbell, who I love dearly. Here is NHL totals. 1, 5, 31, 26.
31 is a platoon.
Yeah.
It's a 60-40 split.
Actually, you know what? So that was last season. And you know what? To Adam's point, he had a 928 in 31 games in Vegas. The LA was that bad.
Oh.
Why weren't they starting Jack Campbell? You must wonder.
Okay. What happened in LA in 2018, 2019? Jack Campbell played 31 games, had a 9.28. Cal Peterson played 11 games and had a 9.24. Jonathan Quick in 46 games, 8.88.
So stop playing Jonathan Quick.
It sounds like he's not good.
But there was a goalie. In LA who did worse than that.
Who's that?
Peter Budaj played 33 games. What? Why did Peter?
How many games for them?
He played 3 games. Huh. Had an 8.18.
So washed.
A little bit. I'd like to know how many of those were starts because it said he only played 72 minutes.
Interesting.
And from my math, that's not a lot of minutes. But
the point is that Jack Campbell based on those numbers, you think could probably platoon, get you 30 to 35 games, which is what the Leafs are banking on. I don't mind Marc-Andre Fleury at that price. It's just, again, the idea that the Leafs in Vegas are going to be competitors for Petrangelo, as soon as that's taken off the table, maybe you talk then. But you can't be making a deal with your main competitor for the best defenseman in the league. You can't. No. You can't help them.
There's another. So we keep talking about Flurry because he's the most obvious one. But the Henrik Lundqvist conversation is pretty interesting too. $8.5 million cap hit, which is going to be difficult to move. But in terms of actual dollars owed this season, it's only 4.5. 4.5 for 1 year, but he's got a full no move. And me thinks he might just retire.
Or go on LTIR.
Or going, but he's not hurt, is he?
Yeah, at that age, you can argue anything.
Well, that's what I thought with Roberto Luongo, and then they were like, "You're just retiring, Robert," and he was like, "It's Roberto," and okay.
Well, I can't imagine that. I think the Panthers probably are in a different position than the Rangers too. Rangers are the most valuable franchise in the sport. They have the money to do this. I don't know that the Panthers were willing to pay Roberto Luongo the remainder of his deal. They were willing to take the cap recapture, which I believe they did, and Vancouver had to as well. But I don't think that maybe Florida was in the same position as, say, New York is, where they can afford to pay a guy $4.5 million to sit because he's quote-unquote injured.
Let me throw out a candidate for a landing spot for Marc-Andre Fleury that could be interesting. Buffalo.
Oh, that's a good one.
He'd probably say, hells no, but they have Carter Hutton for one more year. If I were Buffalo, I would do everything I could to get rid of him. 34 years old, had a terrible season last year. Linus Ullmark was good. He had a .915, and that could be a platoon that I could see working.
How many games did Linus Ullmark play?
31, I think it said. And
Linus Ullmark is less good than Jack Campbell.
Wow, there you go. And projected
he's on a significantly worse team. Let's just throw that out there.
Yeah. Projected cap space for the Buffalo Sabres. Can they fit Marc-Andre? Oh, 34.4 million.
Yo, okay. Low key though, the Sabres have a real opportunity this offseason to be really very good very quickly.
Yes.
And I think that needs to be acknowledged.
They can build a whole new team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And hey, listen, if Henrik Lundqvist does not want to leave New York City, but if you could get him to, upstate New York's not the worst place. It's a couple hours away.
Dude, we'll just take.
He can take his helicopter.
We'll take your cap hit, and you can stay at home if you don't want to play. Like, I don't know. Or you're the Rangers, and you're like, everything's going great for us. We'll just eat it. We'll just have 3 sick goalies for a year.
Which I can't see why that hurts them. I can't see why it doesn't. It doesn't hurt them at all. Just let the guys compete for it. What's the big deal? I did get a question in my comments, and I wondered, Steve, I wanted to run this by you in my DMs. Have we heard anything about the AHL? Are they going to have a season?
Not as far as I know. There's so much to keep up with. Last I saw, they were going to try in December. It's September 23rd, and we haven't heard anything. No.
Okay.
But I will say, teams need to be. So all these players are getting loaned out to all these teams all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that teams need to be very careful about where these players go. Because I just straight up do not believe the KHL. And I don't trust them for how they handle a lot of things, but in particular how they're handling this. And the Kings just had a bunch of prospects all go to one team, but that was Finnish?
Yes, and they own that team.
I believe, yeah. And Jokerit didn't show up to a game in Belarus, and that was, I think that was political protest.
Yeah.
There was a game in Russia recently where the other team just did not show up. Imagine if there was, the Philadelphia Flyers lost last night. They just didn't show up in Minnesota. Imagine the news. Imagine the big game tonight. Claude Giroux, Sidney Crosby, and the Penguins didn't come. Imagine that. So there's a lot of NHL fringe, AHL quality guys who you're going to want an answer for that, right? What's going on with the AHL? And the answer is a lot of them are going to places that frankly don't give a shit.
Wow.
And it's a little concerning.
Crazy. Well, there you go. Okay, well, that wraps it up for us today. We will be back Sunday, where we'll actually have tonight. Obviously, we've got the Stanley Cup final continuing between Dallas and Tampa. As it stands, as the recording of this podcast, the game hasn't started. Series tied 1-1. Who do you think takes the game tonight? Jesse, give me a quick prediction.
Tonight, Tampa.
Steven.
Tampa.
I am going to go against both of you, and I'm going to say Dallas. I think Dallas might have it, guys. I think they might fuck around and win a Stanley Cup. So let's see. We'll see. So we will see you next time on the Steve Dangle Podcast. We love you. See you Sunday. Bye.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection